You got yours, I got mine.
Darn right.
And you got yours. No, I'm joking. All right. Everybody's got them. They're like armpits.
That's a thought.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome to Table Talk, the show about beer, board games, and everything else. I'm Rich.
And I'm Alex. And this month we've been talking about baseball.
Baseball. We are talking about baseball all month long. If you
All
haven't
month
caught the
long.
earlier episodes, we paired our beers. I got the Mitten Brewing Company. It's the West Coast Swing. It's the Amber Ale. I've been drinking that here. Here's what it looks like, in case you're interested. It's a great beer. The Mitten Brewing Company pairs beer with pizza. We pair beer with board games, and the board game that we paired it with this month was Baseball Highlights 2045, with cyborgs, naturals, and robots playing baseball. Sounds crazy. Go check it out, though. I think it's a good option if you're looking into adding the game to your collection. I think that's a good game to choose. And then last week, Alex and I played a little pitch and catch. I had a few questions about baseball that Alex very kindly answered for me, and hit a lot of them out of the park, to be honest. And today
we're going to be talking about our favorites, baseball favorites. So we are talking about stories. We're talking about teams. We're talking about all kinds of favorites. I don't know, Rich, if you want to start in particular with anything.
Yeah, I think we should start with our childhood memories. Favorite childhood memories of baseball. I'll start with a story of mine and kind of why I fell out of baseball. I fell out of love with baseball at a very young age because of an accident that happened. We've talked about it before on the show. It actually got edited out. It's on the cutting room floor of Table Talk. It just didn't pertain to the conversation that we had before, but it does pertain here, and I'll keep it in this one. When I was in first grade, I got hit in the head with a 7-iron golf club. That ended up giving me about 30-some stitches. It separated my skull. Very serious injury for a first grader. It happened right in the middle of baseball season, and I played outfield, and I had to wear a baseball helmet when I was in the outfield, and it was one of those situations. It was like we had just graduated from T-ball, right? We were at coach pitching type of level, right? That's a thing, right? Where the coach, it's like pitch, slow pitch, slow pitch baseball, peewee. And I kind of just fell out of love with it, just because I don't know, just because it was a weird time in my life where I had suffered a very serious injury, and I didn't like that period, I guess. And baseball somehow got associated with all of that when really it probably didn't have to. Anyway, that's unfortunately my childhood memory, but I do remember T-ball. I do remember loving the outfield a lot. I loved, as somebody who played a lot of very intense sports as a child, right? I was a big football player. I was a big basketball, lacrosse, and anytime I got to play outfield when I was a kid, and I remember loving the outfield so much. It's a different love of a sport than like football is or any other sport, because it's so, I don't know. I think, Alex, you said it kind of in the ramp up to getting us prepared for this episode. We haven't talked about it yet, but there is like this like religious, religious and spiritual are tricky words, but it is kind of a religious feeling that you get like when you're just kind of waiting, right? like you're out there in the middle of like this open field, kind of waiting for like the ball to come out to you. But other than that, like you're kind of just like, you're just in the moment, like you're just hanging out, like you're ready, you know what your role is, and it's just kind of like this patience that you have to have. It's a different type of sport, where it does require you to really kind of be focused, but not necessarily active like 100% of the time,
It is a sport of precision.
That's a good way to put it.
In the sense of sudden springness of activity. I often think it's the difference between a cat and a marathon runner, where a cat is athletic, but only in like little short bursts. Like you can't you don't want to cross with a cat, but all of a sudden it's just like all of a sudden, and then they grab whatever it is, and you're kind of like, whoa, how'd you do that? And baseball is kind of like that, where you don't really do much per se, but you really have to be flexible in particular, because you have no idea when you're going to have to contort your body in a particular direction to catch this or hit that or move out of the way or, whatever it is.
I did want to share this.
Oh, look at you, Rich.
There I am. That's me. That's my face. I'm assuming 8, 9, 10-year-old face.
Yeah. Dude, I love your stance, man. Is this in...
is it good?
Yeah. Is this your hometown?
This is Westfield, Indiana. What about you, Alex? What type of memories do you have?
Yeah, I was able to scrounge this up. So my dad was actually my head coach growing up. So he was my head coach from coach pitch on to there we go. From coach pitch on to majors in Little League. So this is the Dodger days.
Exactly like you.
Yeah, I know. Exactly isn't that crazy? You. Isn't that crazy? The
thing is, I've seen your dad now, right? He's got his own look, right?
Yeah, he does.
Right now.
He does.
He doesn't look like you. This guy looks This basically looks like you. You're a time traveler.
Right? I know. Well, I hate to say, but yeah, exactly. But that would have been 1999, based on the hat. I remember, and that was probably my favorite year for baseball. That was Major League. 99 was a great year in general. Played first base. I, for some reason, wore a watch when playing baseball, which I think is funny. And that would have been
what time it is.
Yeah, it's game time.
It's game time.
So that probably, based on that photo, I think that was in Pine Ridge Field, which is in Fairfax County. I believe it's in Falls Church area or Annandale. I'm unsure at what point that switches, but regardless, that's me, and that's Coach Barker, which is my dad. And I think he would have been in his
spitting image.
Yeah, goodness. I think he would have been in his 40s early 40s at that point. So,
wow,
yeah, kind of crazy.
All right, explain to me some of these other photos here.
So that would have been the Dodger dugout of 1999, I think. I can tell you first names. Mike, who's crazy dude there on the left. Yeah, he was catcher. He also had teardrop eye pupils, which was very interesting. Only guy I ever knew. It was like cat eyes. It was interesting. I don't know if you can see that well. He's a good kid. Mike, I don't know if you're around, man, but this is I wonder where all these guys went. Steve, there's Steve right there. He was a great pitcher. This was 2000 because the hat changed. That's me behind Mike's fist, and then to the right of me, that was a Farrell brother. Oh, there's Nato. That Nathan Toner right there. He had the best nickname, Nato. And then that would have been a Farrell brother. I can't remember if it's Adam. It might be Adam.
Which one?
The one who's sitting on the bench.
Right here?
No. That guy. And then to his right, I forget his first name, but last name I think is Miller. And then finally, to the direct right of him, who's behind him, I don't remember. No, I don't know. Left of him and right of him, don't know. And then Josh Del Pino right there to the right. He was the main man. He was second baseman while I was first, and he was great. We had a lot of fun playing ball together. But I think he and I ended up going to the same high school. Now that I think about it, he and I were classmates nice. Down the line. But yeah.
And who's this?
No idea. Random, probably a sibling of one of us. It's at that point, I guess. And that's my dad sleeping because he's tired.
This is your dad. I thought this was you. Okay. This makes sense. Okay. That's your dad.
After a long day at on the field. Probably a Saturday.
After yelling in the umpire's face.
Right. Probably. Right. Yeah. Because my dad was totally like that. Yeah. That would have been single A ball. The Royals, probably the best team I ever played on. I think we went 10-2 that year.
That's you, right?
That's me.
All right.
Lucky number 13.
Number 13. And I love how everybody's goofing off in this photo except for him. It's like he missed the memo. Like
missed the memo. Yep.
He missed the memo that this was supposed to be the funny. In case all the kids being crazy in front of you didn't give you enough warning.
Yep.
It's just like straight face. Like even your dad is like,
my dad's getting on it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's completely oblivious. So Andy,
nice.
my wife wanted to get in on this. So this is my wife, Andy. With another, she grew up in South Bend. This is her brother, Josh.
I thought you were going to say, that's me. I was like, wow, you were.
Yeah, right. We go way back. This is them at I believe this is a Silverhawks game. South Bend Silverhawks, which I think are now the South Bend Cubs because they feed them for the Cubs.
Okay.
But yeah, Josh Corzan, shout out to you, bud.
Yeah.
And then my wife Andy.
That's fun.
Somebody drinking a nice beer right behind them.
Always. Got to go with that.
And there's my wife Andy now, grown up, and that's us at a actual Silverhawks game in South Bend.
Nice.
That was a minor league game. That's one of the first games I had been to since being a child. You can see how excited I am to be there. My employer at the time had bought us tickets. We sat at the Silverhawks had a patio seating where you could like sit at like a picnic table, like right on the third. Well, not that's the third baseline right there. So we're a little bit in the outfield, but still a great place to sit and just like have a hot dog and just hang out.
That's fun.
Yeah. So that's us. My wife has a lot of stories she wanted me to share for this episode. She couldn't be here with us, unfortunately. But she did do the Boston Marathon when she was, I think, in college. And after she had run the Boston Marathon, she went to Fenway Park to go see a baseball game. So this is her photos from Fenway. So there she is. Obviously, you can't see her because she's taking the photo, but that's Fenway. Sitting in the outfield. Yep. Entrance to Fenway. Are there any more that we missed? Hold on. Let's see. I thought you had at least another one. Oh, yeah, that one.
That was well, okay, so this is one of my favorite ones. And I just noticed it literally today. So that's me. Yeah, that would have been 2000 because we got the classic LA home thing jersey. And now this was at a Prince William Cannons game, which was the minor league team in my area. They since then became the Potomac Nationals and now have recently moved. And they're now this year, their official inaugural season, it was supposed to be last season. They will be the Fredericksburg Nationals and they will be the Fred Nats. Very wisely, instead of the P Nats of Potomac Nationals, they did not become the F Nats because that would have been a little problematic there. But my favorite thing about this whole photo, we're all together, right? We got our cool little banner thing. Now, if you look on the left side, the last names, what do you see?
The left side.
Let's scroll down. Now you see the names, and those are the coaches' names. Read them out loud, bottom to top, please.
Wait, where? Here?
No. In the red. No. Up to the left side. Yep. Bottom up, please.
Rutherford.
Yep.
Reyna. I see
yep.
it now. And Baker.
Baker. Isn't that great? Look at that. Everyone spelled right except for my dad's last name. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are named Barker, if you know anyone named Barker, please, for the life of you, double check the fact that you're actually spelling it correctly, because I can't tell you how many times Coach Barker and son Barker.
This is how you spell it.
That is how you spell it. Barker. Like even my brother has an Instagram handle, Barker Not Baker, just specifically because we've been called Baker. We've been called Parker. I've even been called Marker this past year, which was a new one. I'd never been called Marker before. So I don't know. It's one of the most, I think anyway, it's one of the most least interesting white guy names out there. It's very English. Barker. Like it's not complicated. Get your friends' names right, please, and your coworkers. Just ask them and write it down. Just phonetically spell it.
It's very simple. Just call people by the right name. Just
exactly.
do that for us, please. A few more childhood memories. Besides playing with the batter's helmet in the outfield, Indianapolis Indians games. My parents took us to a lot of Indianapolis. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but our fair share of Indianapolis Indians games. Those were always good memories growing up, as any ballpark really is. Any minor league ballpark really is. The other thing I wanted to mention, the feel. There's something, and again, this is kind of like being in the outfield, right? There's something about the sport that is so unique. I don't remember any other sport where there's something that makes me feel the way I feel when you hit a ball with a bat. Yeah. The crack of it hits all the senses, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it hits. It sounds good. It feels good. Your hands tingle, right? Yeah. Your hands like shake. You can feel it for like 5 minutes after you've hit a ball with a baseball bat. I remember feeling that as a kid and thinking that's a really cool feeling. I like that a lot.
I've always thought that sports that in tune you with the outdoor environment too is very different than like hockey and basketball. Very great, but like when you actually play, it's contained, right? It's within a certain thing.
Yeah.
I mean, football is sort of similar to this, especially if it's like outdoor like style somewhere in Cleveland or Green Bay or wherever it would be.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think that there is a sense where, especially with baseball, when you're out in the field, you have no padding on. The only thing you have is a hat and a glove. So there is that sense of where you are kind of exposed to the world and the smells and the feel and the view. It's very interesting.
Any other favorite memories that you had growing up?
I'll put it this way. My dad, when he was coach, he went all out. And he made, with my mom's help with photos, he made newsletters for the team. So we had Royals Report in Single A. We had the Devil Rays replays. That's what that was. The Dodger Dugout, which was classic, and then I think those were the big three. But Dodger Dugout was great. And he would even do stats. Like he would, because they keep track of stats in Little League. So, what to, turn in and how it went.
Stats are part of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. But he would actually like record the stats and as part of newsletters have like, all right, Alex Barker has, this many strikeouts or this many, walks or hits or whatever it is. So kids would actually keep track of it. It was really fun.
That is cool.
So I think that, and then finally, as any 9-year-old or 10-year-old thinks, the snacks were definitely some of my favorite things.
Yeah. You gotta have the Capri Sun at the end of every game.
Oh yeah.
The cheese sticks.
Oh yeah. Keep it coming. Yeah, exactly. So
I forgot about that. That's such a great point. I forgot that there was that was one of the things you looked forward to as a kid, right? Yep. Like let's just get this game over with because I know we have Lunchables.
So get to the snacks. Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you have a favorite player growing up, or do you have a favorite player now?
I mean, growing up as a kid, it was definitely Cal Ripken Jr. of the Orioles. His whole Iron Man streak, I think, was particularly impressive. Impressive in that its record was not based on some like grandiose achievement. It was just showing up to work every day, which is a testament, I think, to I think that's integrity lived out in baseball, is just showing up and being like, okay, I'm going to play.
So wait, what was the record again? So it was
the record he broke was Lou Gehrig's record, which is like 2,000 something games played in a row. So that means you don't take a day off. Each season is about 162 games. So if you think about how long that would actually take for you to do it every day for, baseball seasons are almost 6 months long. So that, it's a lot of wear and tear. So I remember just kind of the earth shaking deepness that hit the Baltimore and DC area, because the Nationals weren't there yet. Baltimore was the local team, and everyone really had like a high respect for him. I mean, they still do. He definitely loves the game, and he's a bit of a a generational baseball player. Actually, his father was coach for the Orioles for a time, and his brother was also a player at the same time as he was. Billy Ripken, I think is his name. So he's pretty big in the kind of the eastern seaboard area, especially Maryland, about kind of the next generation of baseball and teaching and that kind of thing. So. So he was my favorite growing up. I think my all-time still is Jackie Robinson, just for historical and the significance that he brought to the world.
And we had, if you haven't checked out the superheroes episode, you should check out the superheroes episode that Alex and I had. We talk about Jackie Robinson.
Yes, we do.
He comes. It might be hard to understand why he came up in a superhero conversation, but you have to watch that episode to find out.
It makes sense in context. My current fave would probably be a toss-up between, I'm biased, I'm a Nationals fan, probably between Max Scherzer, who's one of the ace pitchers we have, and then Juan Soto, who is a young gun, who is an amazing ball player, right field, left field, I think. But he is he's an amazing hitter and a really fun personality. So I think both of them are probably my favorite right now, I would say.
Okay, good. With Cal Ripken, I did have a question. So it's pretty common though for rosters to change, right? Pretty regularly.
Yes.
It's not like a lot of other sports where the starters are kind of the starters, right? It kind of depends on the season, right? Who needs to rest, who needs to be in at a certain time. That like you said it before in a previous episode where it is more of a team sport in that aspect where you have to have a deep bench because you could be starting a whole different lineup almost every single game, right?
Right. Exactly.
Or different series or different parts of the season, right? So is it common for somebody is Cal Ripken like a huge exception to somebody that played so many games in a row? Or is it specifically his position that allowed him to do that?
He definitely was. He was actually a tall shortstop for a time. Like he was incredibly tall for his type for a time, and then eventually I think he at the tail end of his career he primarily played third base. I think. As far as I understand it, you have to play a certain amount of innings in a game in order for it to count. I don't know if it means that he was there in all 9 per game, or if there was a certain point where he was able to. Okay, I'm gonna sit out 2 innings or whatever it is.
Okay.
Because that sometimes can happen. I don't know the exact rule about that. But I just know that he had stamina, and I think his body in particular was built to handle that well. And I think he just, I remember reading one of his autobiographies about it, and it was just mainly like he loved the game. He just loved showing up every day. He loved playing. I think it helped a lot that his brother and his dad were also playing in the same team. He grew up in Maryland, so like he loved the Orioles. That was the only team he was ever interested in playing for, regardless of their success or lack thereof. And he really was a no nonsense kind of player. He was not unpleasant to be around, but like it was his work. Like this was
business first, pleasure later.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's cool. Yeah. Almost dropped my baseball. Goodness.
Oh no.
Goodness. Fumble. Right? Baseball fumble. That's a thing.
Error.
Right?
Error.
Yeah. Oh, one of many for this month. I mean, my favorite player doesn't hold as much weight, and I don't have a lot of just because I'm not as big of a fan as Alex is. I do remember though growing up being really I followed Mark McGwire around.
There you go.
And just because he was the big hitter when I was growing up,
it's a big deal.
1990s. It was him and Sammy Sosa that were kind of like going back and forth. I remember, but I remember like when I heard the name Mark McGwire, I like paid attention.
Now here's a question for you then. Because you grew up in Indiana, were more people Chicago Cubs fans or more people St. Louis Cardinals fans? Because Indiana does not have an official MLB team.
Right. There's a lot of both. I'd say the Cubs were the dominant fan base. But St. Louis Cardinals were big as well. And I of the two, I've actually been to the Cardinals stadium and been to a game there. So I would say the crowd I was around growing up and around in high school and early college, St. Louis Cardinals was kind of where our heads were at. So
it's a cool rivalry.
Mark McGwire. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool rivalry. Very old and very historic in that way. That's cool.
Rivalry between the Cardinals and the Cubs?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the proximity, or
probably a little bit of both, and they've just been around for so long.
Okay.
I mean, both of them have been around, I don't know, I think like early 1900s. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right. And Mark McGwire he was a first baseman, played for the Oakland A's and St. Louis Cardinals. But what the Mark McGwire I remember was playing for the Cardinals.
Yep. And Sosa was for the Cubs, I think.
Cubs, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I guess I didn't realize that was if that was a huge rivalry, then that made it 10 times bigger. Was that they were kind of going back and forth. It was almost like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
Yep.
Going back and forth, one hit after the other. One was leading the home runs, and so he was a home run master. He holds the record for at bats per home run ratio, which is 10.6.
Wow.
So that means roughly every 10 or 11 at bats, he would hit a home run. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was drop the ball again. All right. He was. I'm just gonna leave it over there. It's too distracting for me. He was the former record holder for home runs in a season, 70 in 1998, and home run hits by a rookie, which was 49 in 1987. So,
yep.
A little bit of controversy, I understand, with steroid use, and
just a smidge of a controversy, just a teensy weensy bit.
But all of that aside, he was when I think of individual players that I actually paid attention to growing up, or anything like that, Mark McGwire is a name that came up.
He stood out.
So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, did you have? Is there a specific play that is like your favorite play, like something that you think of as like either nostalgic, like I remember when that happened type of thing, or?
I got a couple because there's different experiences for each one. So my favorite thing that I've personally ever participated in is a double play. There is nothing like a double play, like defensively. It is so much fun. And and shout out to Josh Delpino and Joe Crandall. That was his name, who played shortstop in the old Dodger days. And I just remember, I remember distinctly Josh just scooping it up and him tossing it to Joe, and Joe would always do the like Michael Jordan tongue thing, and do the throw. And to me, I was like, this guy's so athletic, it's amazing. But I can't imagine what it would look like as a parent. Zoom out, and Joe's probably like 3 inches tall or something. We're all tiny.
Right.
But we got those double plays. Boy, those are fun.
Nice.
But yeah, that was personally my favorite. My favorite ones in baseball, hitting wise, is the cycle where you hit single, double, triple, home run all in one game. That is very hard. It's hard enough to go 4 for 4 in a game at all. But to be able to hit all 4 of those type of hits in a single game is really difficult.
So this is like a baseball hat trick almost.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's very difficult. Probably though the most difficult play, and it's not even a play, it's an achievement in a given game, is my personal favorite, is a no-hitter. Where a pitcher does not allow a single hit. One of my favorites I ever remember hearing about, my parents witnessed this in Nats Park, which was really cool. Jordan Zimmerman got a no-hitter against the Marlins, Miami Marlins. And the last play in the bottom of the ninth, I forget who was hitting for the Marlins. He hits a shot to left field that looks like it's going to be a hit, and you just see Jordan Zimmerman. He throws it, and you hear and you just see his shoulders sag because he thinks that it's going to be done, and his whole thing's going to be ruined. And the left fielder is like going back And he does almost like a football catch where you can tell he's kind of guessing where the ball's going to land, where his glove is. And he makes a leaping catch, dives, catches it. Game is over. Jordan Zimmermann gets his no-hitter. It was so cool.
Nice.
And I looked this up, only 305 no-hitters have been achieved since 1869. Wow. You think about how many games are played, how many teams are playing those games. And there's only 305 no-hitters ever thrown.
Wow.
It's a really rare occurrence in baseball. So anyway, I think that's my favorite.
Wow.
How about you? What do you got?
Well, that's an interesting take on the question too, because I was thinking like specific like plays, like so-and-so's home run in the bottom of the ninth. Okay. I was thinking that line, and you're actually thinking like specific like plays that happen,
in baseball.
In baseball. So that's tell me
what you were going to say. Tell me where you were going to go.
We talked about it last episode. The play that stands out to me, just because I'm more of a passive fan of baseball, because so obviously so-and-so's home run in the bottom of the ninth is not something that I would really be in tune with as a more passive fan. The thing that I remember the most is this we've already talked about, the Steve Bartman incident.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Wrigley Field, Chicago, between Cubs and Marlins. 8th inning.
Like a sportscaster. Come on.
October 14, 2003, Wrigley Field, Chicago, between Cubs and Marlins. 8th inning, Game 6 of the National League Championship, with Chicago leading 3-0. Winning the series 3-2. Marlins batter Luis Castillo
probably.
Hit a fly ball into foul territory in left field. Cubs outfielder Moises, I'm sorry, I don't know these names. Moises Alou pursued the ball and leapt near the fence in an attempt to make the catch. Along with the other spectators seated against the wall, Cubs fan Steve Bartman reached for the ball, but he deflected it, disrupting Alou's potential catch. If Alou had caught the ball, it would have been the second out in the inning, and the Cubs would have been just 4 outs away from winning their first National League pennant since 1945. The Cubs ultimately allowed 8 runs in the inning and lost the game 8-3. When they were eliminated in Game 7 the next day, the incident was seen as the first domino to fall and affecting the series outcome.
And of course, this feeds into the whole Billy Goat, Curse of the Billy Goat, the superstitions of baseball, right? Yeah. Not to mention the involvement of the fans, and also just how intense, the whole situation was for that. It's something that just struck me.
Can I tell you a funny story about superstitions in baseball? Because this is one of my favorites.
Well, that's one of the questions. What's one of your favorite superstitions? And I added that. I don't think it was on your list, but
okay,
yeah,
no, it's fine. So I got one. So, and this is a personally felt superstition from my team, the Nationals, who were based in D.C., Washington. And the Washington Nationals have been here since 2005, and historically, they and the Seattle Mariners were the only 2 teams left in the MLB so far that have never been to a World Series. The Mariners are still the only team now that haven't actually been to the World Series. Feel bad for them, but they'll get there.
Team?
They're the only team. Now there's plenty of other teams that have been but never won. But they're the only team that's just never been at all. So the Nationals had a really, really good squad, right? And in particular in the 2010s, they dominated as one of the NL East teams that was highly competitive against the Braves, against the Phillies, et cetera, the Mets. And there were some pretty high expectations that, hey, we're going to go to the World Series at some point, right? So Bryce Harper is one of those players, and he is the kind of the stellar, the star of the show, the one that's supposed to help raise up the caliber of what it means to be a national. And he's coming in, he came in from the minor leagues, and he's, hitting really well, and he hits these crazy homers, and he's really emotional and gets into it and has some classic fights that are great to watch on YouTube and kind of still kind of cringeworthy. And then he decides, okay, my contract's done. I'm going to pack it and head into Philly. So I'm going to sign a $335 million, something like that. $315 over 13 years, something like that. And so he signs. He goes to Philadelphia, and he's in spring training. And dude, this is spring of 2019, right? He's dressed to the nines in Philly gear, and he's got his first media press conference. And he stands, or he sits, and he's looking at the conference and very serious. And he says, "Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to hear, to be able to be here today for spring training for the first day. As you know, we want to bring a title back to DC, and I'm going to do this and this and this." And people are like, "Wait, what? Did you just say DC?" "Yeah, I think he just said DC. He didn't say Philly." "Yeah, he said DC." So,
oh no,
that is spring of 2019. The Nationals, after going 19-31 in May of that year, all of a sudden go on this like crazy hot streak, and they come back and they're essentially the best team in baseball. If it weren't for the record, they get to the wild card, they come back to win, and then they win the World Series in 2019. So everyone in DC thanks Bryce Harper for helping bring a title to DC for leaving. So that's the superstition, is that it just took him to leave, and then the Nationals were going to win.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of the Babe Ruth effect for the Red Sox, I guess. But yeah. And we wish him well. I hope he has success in Philly, but that was timely. And anyway, very
forgetting which team he played for momentarily.
Right. I mean, it was a great flub. I mean, and he played it off as though he didn't say it. I don't even think he realized he said it until later, but it was pretty classic.
I came across a superstition that I was a fan of.
Okay. There's a lot of great superstitions.
I mean, there's a lot of superstitions, right, in baseball. There's a whole bunch. I mean, players won't I think there's a superstition where you can't step on the foul line while you're coming onto the field.
Yep.
Obviously, there's other superstitions, individual superstitions, players not washing their clothes after a win or something like that. There's a whole bunch of that stuff. My favorite one that came up was not talking about a no-hitter or a perfect game while it's in progress.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a superstition that the players have. It's a superstition that the fans have, right? And it's a superstition that the announcers are in on, right? Nobody will talk about it. It's like everybody, if you're in the stands, if you're new to baseball and you find yourself at a game where the no-hitter is being pitched and you don't understand that you can't talk about it, you're gonna get booted out of the stadium.
You can't talk about it. And there's it's funny, you see footage of pitchers and literally the players will not even sit near them. They won't even.
Yeah.
There's a certain clearance that they give to these players to let them kind of do their thing. It's a really weird superstition, but I think that it's kind of based in some truth, where it's look, you don't want to break their concentration. Baseball is hard enough to concentrate on.
Right.
So it's that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, I liked it just because it wasn't just so and so's not going to change his socks after he won a game. It was it's something that everybody's in on,
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite. I want to get to this. Favorite stadium. What's your favorite stadium?
I gotta say Fenway.
Okay.
I've never been. I understand you got to be there. I get that. I chose it because of the features at Fenway. I don't know a lot of stadiums or just general sports arenas that have so many features that have their own identities, their own names. I mean, the Green Monster by itself is something, right? The Green Monster, it's got the manually updated scoreboard, which I think is cool. So there's still to this day people inside of that wall. If you don't know what the Green Monster is, it's a huge wall. Yeah, it's a huge wall in Fenway, and we'll have a picture, I'm sure, it's a huge, just big green wooden wall that is so unique to baseball because you don't usually have a big, huge wall, right? That the ball can basically bounce off of, and you don't really know which way it's going. Kind of adds an element to the outfield, but also it's if my understanding is correct, it's a short field, right? It's a small baseball field, so a lot of home runs hit in that baseball field, especially for right-handed hitters. So,
per usual,
yeah. And then the inside of that wall, I guess, is covered with signatures from Red Sox players. So That's pretty cool. The triangle is a region of the center field where the walls form a triangle. So I guess it's not necessarily true center field, as it would be for most ballparks, but it's, I guess, considered the center field, and it's like an area where all the walls come in and kind of create this little section of the outfield.
Space. Interesting.
Williamsburg is the name of the bullpen. It was built in 1940 to enable left-handed batters to hit more home runs. It's named after Ted Williams, who we talked about last episode, who's a left-handed batter. So they basically made it so that Ted Williams could hit more home runs. Yeah, because it made it. They created the bullpen. It just stood out like 23 some feet or so, or whatever, from the actual wall. So, and the Lone Red C marks the longest home run hit at Fenway Park. It was hit by Ted Williams on June 9th, 1946. The official measurement was 502 feet.
Holy cow!
Yeah. The ball, there's a funny story with this. The ball landed on Joseph A. Boucher, penetrating his large straw hat and hitting him in the head. A confounded Boucher was later quoted as saying, "How far away must one sit to be safe in this ballpark? I didn't even get the ball. They say it bounced a dozen rows higher, but after it hit my head, I was no longer interested. I couldn't see the ball. Nobody could. The sun was right in our eyes. All we could do was duck. I'm glad I didn't stand up." So anyway,
such a good quote.
Yeah.
I think my favorite stadium, well, I'm biased in that the Nationals Park is my favorite, but it's because I've been there the most by far, and I think the design is really nice. It's right next to the Anacostia River. You can hop on the metro in DC to get there to the Navy Yard exit. It used to have a great view of the Capitol building. However, because of the development with not only the stadium but around the surrounding area around the stadium with more residential living, etc., is that the view for the most part is gone, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I guess it's good for the area, but at the same time it's kind of sad. And I think my other favorite would be Camden Yards at the Oriole Parks at Camden Yards. That one was built in the early 90s. And
wait, where's this at? Sorry.
This is Baltimore. This is Orioles.
Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah. And it was actually seen as a trend starter of in the 50s, 60s, the new stadiums would be like further out in the burbs, because that's where the quote unquote the fan base was. But then the Orioles in the 90s said, no, we're going to build it downtown. So they built it in downtown Baltimore, and that kind of caused that resurgence of old school style, like Ebbets Field Dodgers in Brooklyn, where it's just like in the heart of these neighborhoods. So that's why you get a lot of these new stadiums are actually like in the heart of these downtown places. So that's pretty cool. So
yeah. I did have a question about who your favorite team was. I guess we can answer that by just looking at your hat and your jersey.
Washington Nationals, formerly known as the Montreal Expos, founded in 2005, and winners of the World Series of 2019.
What?
Just saying.
Shout out. Yeah. Did you want to talk minor league teams? Did you have a minor league team that you follow?
I mean, I've been following the Bulls of Durham and the Carolina Mudcats, which is one of my favorite minor league names. It's a nickname for a catfish, and they play in Zebulon, North Carolina, which is east of Raleigh by about 25 minutes, and Durham Bulls play in Durham, North Carolina, which is north of where I live, about a half hour northwest. So I'm getting into them.
West Michigan Whitecaps for me, even though I haven't been to a game because #COVID.
Yep.
So in the South Bend Silverhawks.
Yep. I gotta add one minor league team. Brooklyn Cyclones had to be one of my favorites. I went to several games down there in Coney Island.
Did you?
Yeah.
Man, I should have gone with you. That's one of my regrets, is while we were out there, I didn't actually go to any sporting events. I wanted to go to a Yankees game. I wanted to go to a Mets game. Man,
the Mets and the Nets.
Yeah, right.
Someone wasn't thinking. Yeah. I want to go to a Mets game. A Nets game? No, a Mets game. Oh, a Nets game. No, a Mets game.
No, Mets. Nets.
Mets.
Yes.
Explain this to me, New York. That's what I want to know.
Favorite mascot or mascot / team name. I guess it's two different things.
I got to go with the Mudcats. They're so ridiculous that I'm like,
okay.
But it's like they named themselves after a catfish. Bottom dweller. Very competitive.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You?
I had a job where I was working in Delaware. We were living in New Jersey. My wife was working in New York. So that was a crazy time in our life before you and I met. But while I was working in Delaware, my company did give us tickets to a Phillies game. And I went out there and I got to experience firsthand the Philly Fanatic mascot.
Oh yeah. What a weird mascot.
Large, furry, green, bipedal, whatever, two-legged, flightless bird with an extendable tongue. According to his official biography, the Fanatic is originally from the Galapagos Islands, and he is the Phillies' biggest fan. He replaced Philadelphia Phil and Philadelphia Phyllis as the mascots in 1978. So Philadelphia Phil and Philadelphia Phyllis were siblings dressed in 18th century garb.
Ooh, yeah. Need to change.
Yeah.
What doth thee strike? Striketh out. Ye striketh out, sir. I am ashamed. Sign the declaration, or ye shall die. Give me hit, so give me death. Death it shall be. My name is Philly. My name is Phyllis. There's a lot of Phils there. Philadelphia. Yeah, I they should have had Groundhog Phil be their mascot. Just release all the groundhogs in the seventh inning. Not the seventh inning stretch. It's the seventh inning scream. Everyone just running for their lives. Anyway, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Speaking of seventh inning stretch, we should probably take our seventh inning stretch for this episode. Do you think?
My turn.
Okay. All right.
Well done. Work out those shoulders.
Thank you. Yeah, getting tight. All right. Favorite position?
Sitting down.
That could have gone a lot of different ways, so I appreciate you too.
We're family friendly here, folks. I would say the favorite position for me would be first base, and then it's killing me. Favorite baseball player position?
Yeah. Yes.
Would either be first base or center field.
First base or center field.
Yes. You? Go ahead.
I chose catcher because
nice.
This guy's squatting the whole game. It's physically impressive to me that he's just like, he must want to come home at the end of the day and just want to stand up. He's just constantly bending his knees. It just seems so. It just seems so interesting to me.
Do you think when they come home, do they eat dinner standing up?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He's just got to be so tired of having his legs bent.
Goes to a restaurant. No. Standing room only. Oh, that's great. That's what I want.
Yeah. Standing room only. I'll just stand at the bar and eat my meal there. It's physically. It's all joking aside. It's physically impressive to watch them just squat the entire game, but also, they have the strongest arm, right? Out of usually, right? Because they have to be able to throw it all over the field
while sitting down.
Yeah, right. They're touching the ball. They're like the quarterback, right? They're touching the ball all the time. They're in charge of a lot of the plays, from what I understand.
Yep.
Not to mention the signals and the mental capacity that you have to have at the position. Like, you're involved in so many ways at that position. So it seems like such a great position to me. When you go out to watch baseball, where do you like to sit?
Nosebleeds.
Yeah. I didn't ask where you have to sit. I asked where you like to sit.
My wallet commands me. You cannot afford this. You must go to nosebleed.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know why my wallet talks like that, but I would say left field is my favorite usually, but I think it's because I like seeing the lefties actually being able to bat, seeing their face.
Okay.
Plus, it's exciting if you're on the left field line when you get to see the third base people round home. Like, there can be kind of that thrill of come on, you're almost there. That side.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I've also enjoyed right field. The seats beyond right field, which aren't many, at least in Nats Park. But it is fun to be able to be on the outfield side. It's a different vantage point, which is cool. So
yeah, are we talking like outfield, or like third base line, or sorry,
not third base line, like outfield, like beyond where right field, where right fielder would be. And just in like the home run, kind of section.
And I feel like this question depends on where you're what stadium are you in? Where are you watching baseball? Basically, because there's, depending on the stadium, I feel like I'd want to sit in different places, but
which is what I love about baseball more than any other sport is that the dimensions of baseball fields are not standardized.
Right.
Like there's a certain distance I forget what the minimum is, but like there's all these, like what you were talking about Fenway. There's all these different dimensions that function where like a football stadium doesn't have that. Like, you're not going to all of a sudden, play for the Saints and all of a sudden, well, there's a big old, I don't know, there's a hole in the ground or a rock or something you have to avoid. That would make it interesting.
Watch out for the sinkhole on the 15-yard line.
Right. Watch out for that. That would probably be more Miami or a Florida-based situation. But yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about stadiums is the fact that they are so different in baseball.
I'm weighing your answers a lot heavier than my own. Third base line is fine enough for me if I can afford the seat. Most of the time, I'm watching baseball from the cheap seats. So
same here.
Or through a hole in the fence.
Unless you're in a minor league game, which is another reason why I love minor league, is that everyone has basically a front row seat. And by the third inning, if no one's there in front of you, you just move right on up.
Move right on down. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
And I know you wanted to talk about your physical favorite place on the baseball field.
Oh, dude. Okay, so my favorite. Okay, so there's like two spots. As a kid, I remember absolutely loving, like what you were saying about outfield. It's interesting because there is that kind of like, because there's no one behind you usually. There's no fans, so it is kind of rather quiet. And as a little kid, you're just kind of looking around and oh, look, there's a blade of grass or whatever. So there was that kind of like calmness that I remember enjoying every now and again. But I loved the dugout, man. Oh, I love the dugout so much. It was almost more fun to be in the dugout than to play sometimes. Because, there's always some joke being giggled at or sunflower seeds or big league chew, passed around, anything like that. It was good. It was a good time. So I think those are my favorite spots.
It's such an interesting dynamic too. It's like, it's so tucked away. For as fan friendly as baseball is, the dugout really is kind of like
prison.
We're hiding from you,
Right.
Like, this is our like little fortress that we have. It's interesting. But I think I like it. If I was a player, I would love that protection, that kind of like mental zone of just like having a roof over your head and having to like climb out of this bunker really to like get onto the field, because it feels like this kind of like team safe haven almost type of
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Plays into the psychology of the sport as a whole, I feel like. So that's a cool. I wouldn't have thought of the dugout. I listed my favorite place as the outfield.
Very good.
I like the outfield not only as when I as a very, very, very young player, but as the maintenance of the outfield. You got the Zamboni in hockey, right? It takes care of that. You don't have a Zamboni for baseball. Like the amount of like care it takes for like a field manager or whoever that person is to really care for that grass, keep it at the right length. It's, it's the same type of thought process that goes into like professional golf, right? Like to really care for the outfield and because if the baseball hits that outfield and it hits like a divot or it hits like a mound or something and it flies the other way, like who's going to hear about it the next day?
The grass person.
All right. Do you want to close it out with favorite snack?
Oh, favorite snack.
Favorite snack to eat
so
when you're watching baseball?
So playing baseball as a kid, it was definitely sunflower seeds. Those were fun because you get the, on each other basically, And then there's one cool kid. He's like, yeah, I can do it all in my mouth. And he does like 5 in a row. And you're like, whoa, that's amazing. I would definitely say though.
Spit out 5 seeds.
Something like that. Yeah.
You just like chipmunk it.
Right, exactly. Just store it all in. I have to go classic. I'm a big fan of just buying a big, like if you're at a game, you get one of those big bag of peanuts, and I would share it basically whoever I'm sitting next to, which is usually either my brother, my wife, or my dad, and being able to share and pass along, which is fun. So I'd say that's probably my favorite.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't share my food. That's a strict rule that I adhere to.
Back off.
I would encourage everybody to adhere to this. Don't share your food.
Well, not right now, Rich, but we're in COVID times.
Right. Yeah. Soft pretzel with cheese is my go-to.
Ooh, good choice. That's a great choice.
I can't turn it down whenever I see it spinning in the magical device that it spins in. I just say that's for me. And I devour it very selfishly by myself. And obviously, I wash it down with beer because that's what I do. Hey, wow, that was a good episode.
It was a good episode. Yeah, no, it's all right.
Favorites. Those are our favorites. Let us know what your favorites are in the comments and like, subscribe, comment. Please subscribe, guys. Let us if you like the content, just subscribe because then it just automatically updates you when we post new stuff.
Let us be your favorite.
Yeah. All right. That was a good conversation. Next week, we're going to be talking about our favorite baseball movies. Until next week, guys.
Be happy.
Brew happy.
And game
on. Cheers. Wow. Going late, bud.
Oh, yeah.